Hello again, folks. Welcome back. Come inside, come inside. We're back with part 2 of New Comics, bitches! Didn't feel like falling out of frame for that one. Anywho, so let's go to the other mega events. Fear Itself, Book 4. I gotta say, the mega events of this year are disappointing the living hell out of me. I like Matt Fraction a lot. He's a crazy son of a bitch, and he obviously likes writing this stuff, but there's too much. Okay. This may go off on a much longer riff than I plan it to be, but believe me, I'm going somewhere with this. It's, obviously, DC is on a different tack. They're rebooting almost their entire universe, okay? And there's going to be some casualties. We know that. So, I mean, anything can go from now until the end of August. Anything can go, anyone can die, and they can just bring them back. So it's going to be very interesting how they work out these next 2 months. But obviously, it's a money game. We've got to get people interested again in our titles, so that people will start buying more of our titles, so that we won't be constantly outsold by Marvel. Now, Marvel, because they've got not one but 2 superhero films coming out this summer, they're doing really, their major event comic, Fear Itself, is very centric on those 2 characters, on Thor and on Captain America. So, I mean, basically, at the beginning here, we've got Thor, I should say. He is getting smacked the shit by Odin, and this is all tying into, an old, Asgardian villain, who apparently was, like, the original ruler of Asgard until Odin usurped his throne and sent him down to Midgard. And, Odin, of course, is now treating Midgard as, okay, well, this is a stopgap between, Earth. Midgard is basically a stopgap between the serpent and getting to Asgard. Meanwhile, he is definitely trying to rally the troops in Asgard to protect itself. And, of course, kind of whisks Thor away back to Earth, Midgard, to, because Thor wants to stand with the humans. He doesn't want to allow Midgard just to die. So, I guess where I'm coming from here is that there's a machinery in place, and the machinery, despite the fact that there are some really solid minds behind what's going on both ends of the spectrum, you can really, really tell that the suits have gotten involved in a major, major way. They want Fear Itself, to be a tie-in to these 2 big movies that they've got coming out this summer. DC wants to start overtaking, Marvel in some of their sales. So, I mean, obviously, September's going to be a huge month for them. And, they're thinking, well, by then, Marvel will kind of run out of steam. And, DC is already hurting because of, the unfortunate, I truly believe that unfortunate box office failure of Green Lantern. Because, by all accounts, that should have been a really good film. And it's not. I happen to enjoy it a great deal. Like I said, I gave it, 7 out of 10 on my scale. Because it is a fun and exciting and colorful film. But it's just not where it should be. anyway, that's a different story. But, you know, there's a feeling that, okay, we've got to get all this stuff thrown together real quick so that we can make sure that, you know, the people, you know, because now we are, you know, Thor's obviously still involved, but now because we're coming up on Cap, you know, we're coming up on his movie, we've got to start getting him more involved. We've got to start getting Steve Rogers more involved. As you saw in the last issue of Fear Itself, issue 3, Bucky Barnes was killed by Sin, basically, or the Red Skull, whatever. You know, but as, you know, as her serpent self. And it wasn't a very kind of dubious kill. I think it was cheap, the way that they did it. The more that I think about it, I think it's cheap because it's just a gimmick that they're going to use to get Cap back into the costume. You know, he's going to take up the suit again. He's going to wield the shield, and you know, he's, you know, and the mantle will be his again. And I'm mad about that. And I've done this, and I've talked about this before. It's like, okay, I mean, Brubaker, I think, you know, I don't think he had any choice in this, because Brubaker's a smart guy. You know, Ed Brubaker's, he's probably the smartest creative mind over at Marvel, other than Brian Bendis. And even that's somewhat debatable, because he's got some really smart people there. But anyway, I liked Bucky Barnes as Captain America. I really enjoyed that. It was a strong outing for him as a character. It was a great character-based comic. It was about defining who he was. We didn't get a whole lot of time to find out who he was, though, as Captain America. I mean, we didn't even really get to find that much about him as the Winter Soldier. I mean, yes, we're going to go, you know, there's going to be the Captain America and Bucky series. It's going to come out around the film, and that's going to, you know, and then there's going to be the Captain America solo series. Both of these are going to be written by Brubaker. Brubaker's co-writing it with someone else, I can't remember. The Captain America Bucky series. I think it's like Mitch Breitweiser, or whatever his name is, something like that. Who's done some other work on Cap, I know that. But yeah, this is just it just makes me angry. And this, I mean, the whole, you know, Cap suiting up is just like, you know, I mean, it's like, I appreciate that they're in the midst of this massive crisis and that they've got a lot going on. But, I mean, it's like, shouldn't there be, you know, a few moments of misgiving? And maybe that will be in, see, this is the whole problem. This is the problem with event comics, is because you have all of these peripheral titles that are floating around, and if you're not reading them, you don't really, you know, you're not going to know the inner conflict of what's going on. You know, will the next issue of Captain America be where we see Cap struggling with the idea, you know, kind of sitting there as you see him ready to get suited up and struggling to do this again, you know, mourning Bucky a second time? Or is the soldier in him going to say, you know what, I got to put that on hold. I've got to be me again, and I've got to lead these people into the fight because I'm Captain America. I'm Steve Rogers, more importantly, and I have to get the job done. If that's the case, that's fine, but put it in the main comic, because here it just feels disingenuous. It just feels forced. And that's why I'm saying, that's why I think that these major event comics right now, there's too many suits involved. They're not letting the writers and the art, they're not letting the writers get on with the creative process like they should be doing, because there are some really nice moments in book 4 of Fear Itself. The end is, if that's where they go in the next issue, that's like a major geekgasm right there. If you got Thor going up against an Asgardian-powered Hulk and an Asgardian-powered Thing, that's major shit right there. That's awesome. But if that's all the book's going to be, then that, you could lose a lot of momentum. So that obviously can't be all the book is going to be. And there's a lovely moment that's actually in the background, in which Nick Fury takes a moment to console Natasha about her loss, because she loved Bucky Barnes. She loved James. And he's gone. He's dead. And nope, sorry, fucking fly or something. I didn't want you to think I was just like, whatever. Anyway, so I guess that it hurt from someone who is a huge fan of Captain America, and I don't like seeing someone coming, so far, and then, it wasn't enough time. I feel like Don Corleone. It just wasn't enough time, Michael. It just wasn't enough time. Sorry. So that's kind of that's where I'm coming from, of the attitude of, this is where I'm coming from my point of view of Fear Itself and Flashpoint, is that there's just too many people involved, too many books involved, too many characters involved for, a mega series like this to really get the steam that it needed, which is, because I think that the best big thing that Marvel has done in a really long time, as far as a mega event was concerned, was Civil War. Obviously it helped to read the peripheral storylines, but you could actually get everything you needed out of the main series. And the main series was killer. It worked really well, except for a couple parts. There were a few parts in Civil War that it's just like, that doesn't work at all. But the other stuff, for the most part, did, and you didn't need to read 15 other titles to get it. So Mark Miller, sorry, I have to stop calling him that, because it's pronounced Miller, apparently. He's an excellent writer. I'm kind of bummed he's, basically quitting Marvel, kind of mainstream stuff and just doing his thing on, on Miller World, just doing his, his own series. And that's, that's great for him, but, I'd like to see his take on this character or that character, or another, major event kind of, thrown in his direction. So, who knows? But anyway, so that's where I've gone, and I'm sorry I filled up an entire segment going on about this. So when we come back, we're gonna have books. We're gonna have, gonna try and really kind of get more laser focused, as they say. So stay tuned. We'll be back.